and welcome to the Real Agent podcast, where we pull back the curtain on all things real estate. We're your hosts, Christina, Murray, she'll be here in a minute, and Mary Jo. Today's guest is not, I am so excited about this guest. I feel like my life has completely transformed since I've joined his program. And this is not on my script, but I thought I would just introduce him from the heart and say thank you so much for creating this program. So today's guest is Richard Robbins, who is the co-founder and CEO of Richard Robbins International. It's a global sales and business coaching organization that has generated over 50 million revenue worldwide in its first decade alone. The organization's remarkable 3,000% growth is largely credited to the transformative impact of Richard Robbins' unique methodologies. These methods have profoundly affected the business lives of thousands of sales professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders globally. Thank you, Rich, for being on the podcast today.
It is my pleasure. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me, because at my age, I don't get invited many places anymore, if you know what I'm saying.
I find that hard to believe.
I think you just say no. You're so popular, you may just say,
I actually took your course at the very beginning of my career, which was maybe 15 years ago.
Oh.
A long time ago. So it's really cool for me to see you again now, 15 years later, because we have a lot of questions for you today.
Beautiful. Well, hopefully I answer them correctly.
I think you'll be great. Yeah, for people who are listening, I've been a part of Richard's program for the last going on 6 years. I had known about him for many years, but I think I wasn't ready to join or be a part of that world. But I can't say how thankful I am that I just pulled up my pants and I joined, and I'm forever grateful for finding my coach, and she's just a part of my life now. So I thank you for that. And I think there's lots of people who are in my position that feel that way. Maybe it's not with that or your organization, but coaching in general has transformed my life. So I thank you for that.
I think there's always a stereotype when it comes to coaching. Like, people are like, oh, I don't need it. I can do it on my own. Like, what would you say is the best way to get to combat or debate that stereotype?
Well, I think a lot of people, in all fairness, and probably rightfully so. Like, I remember I was having this conversation with a gentleman in Calgary one time, and he said to me, he says, listen, I've been in the business for like 15 years, and he does very, very well. You know, somebody that was doing a lot of transactions. And he said, what do you think you're going to teach me? That's what he asked me, right? And I said, well, quite honestly, I have no idea what we're going to teach you, because I have no idea how you do what you're doing. But here's my suggestion to you. You should explore the opportunity of having somebody look at everything you're doing and possibly, helping you with maybe small and subtle improvements that'll help you produce a much better result in a shorter period of time. I said, because I'm sure you're doing an awful lot of things right, as most people are. But if, like, for instance, we have access to, the thousands and thousands and thousands of people that we've worked with in the last 25 years, and you probably can't give our company or our coaches one marketing idea that they can improve, right? Like, and it doesn't mean somebody's already not doing a good job, but how can you actually produce a much better result in a shorter period of time, or just produce better results if you want to, keep putting in the same amount of time? So to me, it's always just being curious about how can I improve a little bit. And I fully understand that a lot of people are all successful, but what I actually find is the most successful people are the ones that are most open to the possibility of coaching, because they know the value in that. And that's one reason they are successful.
Yeah. Well, all major I always think of it back into major sports. Like, you need to be coached. You need someone that's overlooking your business to tell you where you can improve, or
and
what
holds you accountable.
And accountability is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Now, eventually, I think your relationship with your coach transforms. But when you're first starting out, it's a bird's eye view. I feel that they can help you.
Mm-hmm. It's also finding a good coach, or maybe just meshing with a good coach. Is that something you provide? And I don't know a lot about the program the way Christina does. Is that something you provide? You provide coaches for people?
Yeah. So probably the most important action that we have to take when somebody gets started with us is a match between them and their coach. So for instance, we do a lot of, personality profiling. We discover what their business looks like, getting started questionnaires so we can understand their business. And then we need to find out where they want to go. So, what are their goals? Because everybody can have completely different goals in the same real estate space. Some people want to build a big team, some people don't. Some people want to have a lot more time off and improve their quality of life. So it depends what their goals. And then what we do is we take the personality, and we obviously are, after 25 years, we're very good at this. I'm not saying we get it right 100% of the time, but we don't get it wrong a lot. And then we take what are they trying to achieve, and then we will take the personalities will mesh. And we'll also take the coach that has the most expertise in that arena in terms of what they want to achieve, and we'll pair them up. And like I said, in most cases we get it right. There still are times, in all fairness, where we get it wrong. And of course, then we, as quickly as we possibly can, will make a switch, right? So there's nothing staying that a client has to stay with, one coach. Our job is to make sure the client is getting what it is they need. So yeah, the match between the members, we call them coaching members, and the coach is critically important.
Where do you see the trend of coaching going right now? Like I'm sure over 25 years, you've seen it change dramatically. Has AI had any impact on what you're doing right now? Like, where do you see things going?
Well, AI has had an impact in our business in the sense that we're using it all the time. So, and that's probably not what you're referring to, but the way I see there's a difference between training and coaching. It was so funny. I was talking to a trainer one time, and he said the difference is I date people and you marry them. That's the difference between training and coaching. Like training, you go somewhere, get trained, you'll learn how to do something. And basically you take that away and you're supposed to go do it yourself. Where coaching is more like you're learning how to, I'm going to say, ride a bike. And some people are better than others at riding bikes, but it's like somebody seems to be always running along with it. You know what I mean? That's what a coach is. They're saying, hey, maybe just turn a little more left because you're not seeing what I see, right? Because, we can't see the forest for the trees. You can't see what's going on because, we're stuck in our own frame where there's somebody on the outside that is seeing a whole bunch of things that you're not seeing. So I think the first step is subtle direction. Right? You know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe we should turn left a little bit or turn right, or maybe we should, do it this way or try this way, and let's see how that works. But then the second is, and Christiane always talked about this, but the accountability. For some reason, people avoid accountability. And if you look at these strong, they embrace accountability. And we're in a very interesting industry in real estate. And, I've been in this business for 40 years now. It's really most of what I've done my whole life, right? Like, because I started when I was 24 years old. And we're in an industry that's really interesting because, people get into real estate and they got these big eyes. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is going to be the best ever. I'm going to be rich in no time. All I'm going to do is drive around and show people homes. And how much fun is this going to be? And oh yeah, I'll be in this a couple of years and, I'll be driving the big Mercedes and have the big home and holidays 6 months a year.
It's funny. They always think it's so easy. We have how many people? We always have people come up to you on a daily basis and say they're going to become a real estate agent. We're just like, good luck.
Or even by the end of a transaction with your clients where they're like, well, what are you going to do? And then by the end of it, they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. You were here to help us.
Oh, I
we
know.
couldn't have done this without you.
Zero concept of what
they
it
have
is.
zero, and they forget about, is you're just, by the end of the transaction, they're singing your praises, but it's like you almost have to get to the end to be able to show they don't really see your worth until everything is closed and they've moved on to their next home.
It's interesting, and see, one of the great challenges we have in our industry, which is good and bad, by the way, because real estate to me is pure entrepreneurship, right? So the barrier of entry to real estate is relatively low. It's not like people have to make a huge investment, not like becoming a doctor. They don't have to, spend a lot of money to get a real estate license in a lot of cases. So the barrier of entry is very, very low. So what ends up happening is a lot of people get in real estate, and you've probably heard this. They go, I'm going to give it a try. And of course, the joke to me is they're not going to give it a try. The business is going to try them. That's the way it's all going to come down. So they get in the business, and a lot of times they left a job where they had accountability. And they love the idea of real estate because, I can go to work when I want, I can do what I want when I want to do it. And they're actually trying to avoid accountability. But if you look at anybody that, is really a true success, in the world is they embrace accountability. So that's the second thing about the whole coaching process. It's like, if you think about it, if you learn something new, and then if you take action on what you learn, that leads to change, right? That's where change comes from. Like, you can learn all kinds of new stuff. If you don't take action on it, it just doesn't matter, right? Or you're not learning anything new and you continue to take the same action, well, we continue to get the same result. So the process of coaching, whether it's with us or anybody else, is I look at it and say, okay, how can we help somebody understanding possibly a better way, right? And it doesn't have to be dramatically different, but just a better way. Like, take an open house as an example. How could we add to somebody producing a way better result at an open house? And the thing is, we can, because, we see all the ways that people are doing great open houses. And then how can we hold them accountable to that in a subtle way? This isn't a master-slave relationship. So they take more action and then they produce a better result. Because I've always said the great secret in life isn't knowing what to do. It's doing what we know. And a lot of us need help to do what we know. Especially me. Everybody does.
Well, I mean, when you've been in the business so long, and we were talking about this earlier, like, you do get stuck in a loop. You're like, okay, you get used to your routines, and then you don't realize that you've sort of forgotten how to actually, I wouldn't say not do your job, but it's just, you get used to your routines.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And then you fall into that roller coaster again. And it's almost like you have to go through this reset. We're seeing this all the time right now with realtors. We're hearing, at least I am. I'm hearing it every other day from realtors who are just on the verge of burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And
if you don't have a solid foundation, then what ends up happening is you're kind of chasing your tail. You're kind of a slave to the business rather than having somewhat of a process or like a foundation of how you do your business. So when you're busy, you're going, but there's no like solid mindset of like, okay, this is what I'm doing, and I'm not being mindful about what I'm doing or making conscious choices of what's happening. And when anybody could get busy, you know a lot of people, you know how to network, you can get the clients, but how do you keep the business going? I believe, and I love what you're saying as well. It's just it's really about mindset, and I think that's kind of what we do here on the podcast is we're trying to translate. It's not just about the things that you do, it's how you think about the things that you do and how you set yourself up to do the things that you need to do, but also what brings you inspiration. So because people can feel that from you, and that's how you build on your business. That's kind of what we're trying to. So I love that the things that you're saying, because it's exactly in line with that. It's not just about cold calling or door knocking or all the things that, realtors think you have to do. Those things are great, but in addition to having that solid foundation.
Yeah, one of the things that I really enjoy with like something that stuck with me is like, do the things that you like to do to build those foundations. Like, mine is cooking classes or my social media or my friends and family. Like they're not, coaching sometimes doesn't have to be those archaic ways of cold calling or, open houses was a way that I used to make, meet lots of new people. So I think sometimes like coaching doesn't have to always be making you do things you don't want to do. They just dig deeper into the things that you're really good at. And and then we build the foundation around that.
Well, or that actually make you happy. Like, why not stick to the things that you're good at? And this is what we're learning in our business is delegating. Like we're realizing, okay, we'll stick to the stuff that we're good at and hire the people that are good at the other things.
And also knowing and understanding how to shift your own energy. Like this morning, I woke up so grumpy, and I knew that and my body was sore and I felt stiff, and I was like, you know what? I don't really feel like going to my workout class, but I knew, because from history, I can see that after my workout class, I have more energy. My body's moved. I've released some of that like stuck energy that's kind of agitating me. And the people in my class are awesome. So I went and I surrounded myself with these people and did the thing that I wanted to do. And I felt really good about it after. And then I was able to make these calls that I was kind of dreading making. and bring really good positive energy to those calls rather than having like that dreaded feeling of like, oh, another thing I have to do. But I brought like a different energy to something that I may not have really wanted to do, but it actually turned out to be really great.
That's kind of like what Richard was saying. It's like, it's one thing to like talk about things, but it's another thing to actually take the action and do it. Like I did a testimonial video this morning that I've been putting off for a month because I didn't want to be in the video, but I did it. Like I just stopped thinking about it and I just went and I did it.
That's it. Just stop talking yourself out of it.
Yeah, exactly. We were just before we got on live, we were talking about Richard's podcast.
Oh.
And I wanted to bring this up with you because he actually just did a podcast about trauma.
Oh, I love that. That's right up my alley. So I'm a child and family therapist. That's what I went to college and university. So in the last, I'd say 8 years or so, I've been kind of amalgamating like the whole, healing trauma mindset with real estate. And because we're dealing with so many clients who are in that type of mindset, they're going through some kind of hard thing in their life or just the stress even of the process.
The way things have been in the world lately, I think it's all around us. It doesn't matter what the situation between the rates, between the wars, between like education, the government, like it just doesn't matter which way you turn. Somebody's upset about something.
We're all triggered.
Yeah, everybody's triggered and now it's in our business. It's everywhere we look. So it's like, how do you teach people to deal with that with their clients? If you are with a client that's severely triggered by numerous things, how would you approach that situation?
Be the calming force in every situation. Listen, we were talking about this earlier before we started, but we all have trauma. And what I see happening in the world today is that it's becoming something that's getting talked about more and more and more all the time. Like if I go back, I'm going to say 15 years ago, I dealt with severe depression. And I will say to you that back then, I thought it was one of the greatest weaknesses and I was embarrassed by it. I was absolutely embarrassed by it. Now, when I say I dealt with severe depression, like I was a mess for over a year. Okay? And there were some events that triggered all of this. And I probably wore myself out beforehand and my body didn't have the chemicals to respond to what was happening. I think there's, lots of reasons for it. And I had to work myself through it. But it became one of the greatest teachings for me is to realize that, like everybody goes, oh, who motivates the motivator, right? Because everybody's saying, oh, you're the big motivator and all that sort of thing, right? And for me to have to deal with that, and I think it was almost something that happened to me that needed to happen to me because I needed to understand what many other people might be dealing with that I couldn't relate to before. So now I can be empathetic to that situation. So I became very aware of that through my own pain. And it's somewhere I never, ever want to go again. I've never gone there again. I've never even felt some of those feelings that I had back then, but it was just the most terrible pain I'd ever experienced in my life. And I think we're getting to a point now where people are starting to realize that, if you have a broken ankle, you go get it fixed. Well, if you have some form of mental illness or some mental challenges, whatever they may be, and it could be caused from a trauma, maybe not, depression, anxiety, we can go on about, what a lot of people deal with is I think, we finally got to a point as a society that we can now at least talk about it. And it's not necessarily something we should be embarrassed about, even though I know many people still are. It's no different than, I'm sitting here talking to three women. And at one time, it was an embarrassing thing to talk about breast cancer, right? For men, that would be prostate cancer, right? Like nobody wanted, oh, you can't talk about that. Oh my God. Like, so you held that all in. Well, guess what? The greatest thing that ever happened is we started to talk about it. So we could bring awareness to it. So we could help people through it, so we could do different things. So I think we're becoming more involved as a society now, and hopefully we'll continue moving that path where, it's okay, right? Like it's totally okay. And if somebody's going through a really tough time, all they need is us to listen, is us to hear them, is us to feel them. I've always said that, people don't really hear you, they feel you. When you're on a presentation, they don't hear you, they feel you, right? You walk into a store and somebody says, can I help you? They don't hear you, they feel you, right? They feel the energy you're giving them. And I think, as a society, we're getting so much better at that. I think we have healthcare problems in terms of treating these, obviously, but putting that aside, that's a whole different discussion. That I think we all have to realize it's okay and say to somebody, it's okay. I know you're going through a real tough time right now. Like, I get it. Maybe they want to talk about it, maybe they don't. Just let them know it's okay. We can't look down at people because they're having mental challenges, whatever they may be. It's just another form of illness, no different than breaking your ankle.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. That's a really huge thing to be able to talk about. And I've also been through that myself. And for me, I don't know about you, if you can relate to this, but for me, I was always the person that everybody turned to for that motivation, for that inspiration. And I just got to a place where I had nobody to turn to. But I realized that it was myself creating that by not allowing myself to be vulnerable, by having this mask that, I look
Everything's
good, I
okay.
look, yeah, put together, everything's fine. You can trust me to, take care of your business. But people we're all human. So people just want to see that human aspect of you. And as soon as I started to allow myself to be vulnerable to, even to my clients and say, you know what? I've had a lot to deal with today. Is this something we can talk about tomorrow? Your clients appreciate that rather than just kind of hearing the reaction or kind of feeling you a little bit shut down, because after all, it's just about human connection. And when we're able to kind of see things from that perspective, I believe that it allows people to trust us more. They see that you're human, you're not perfect. They can be imperfect in front of you. They can talk about the hard things. And for us, it's the greatest gift because now I feel supported by my friends. Some of my best friends didn't even know how to support me because they're like, she's so strong. She knows what to do. She doesn't need anything. You're smiling. I know you're smiling over there. But it's such a
I
gift
missed it.
to give that vulnerability. I've even seen
She's
you,
calling me
Christina.
out.
Oh.
But calling you out, I see it in all three of us. If we're talking about us, I see it in all three of us. We're all very strong in our own ways. But even you, Christina, now that you're kind of more around us, do you feel like you're being more open and more vulnerable at times? Like you're able to talk about things?
Oh, for sure. Just because normally I work alone. So it's me, my assistant, and whoever I'm working with. So being around other people and giving the space to be vulnerable is something that I just haven't had my whole career.
Well, real estate is so isolating. I think that's another thing. I don't know whether coaching helps with that, but
Absolutely.
yeah, because I mean, it's
Absolutely.
one thing that I'm 22 years in the business and I keep coming back to the same thing is how isolating it is. It's one of the reasons why we built a team because we just didn't want to do this alone anymore.
Yeah. And I believe you can create such magic when you're working together. Everybody has their own piece to bring to the table, their own, strength and that collaboration just creates such a beautiful energy.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to be like I want everything for myself. I'd rather share it.
Mhm.
It's just more pleasurable. It brings more, it brings more positive energy and growth.
Rich, they're selling like the philosophy of Richard Robbins just for you.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, Richard, like I didn't know. I've been to one of your seminars, I guess.
We have the binder.
And yeah, we have the binder.
Yeah.
And it was the usual how to prospect, and when Christina's telling me you're coaching her, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, that's great. Like how to door knock, how to cold call. But, once I started researching, knowing that you're going to be on our podcast and just this conversation, it's really refreshing to see like that there's so much more to it. And I'm a believer.
Yeah.
I was a little skeptical at first, but now I'm a
We were
believer.
kind of talking about that a little bit earlier, just like how coaching, I think, has evolved. It's not just about sales and just the tactics in sales. It's like, okay, what about you? Who are you as a person and how are you bringing what who you are to what you do in your profession?
Embodying
Yeah.
the things that what you've learned. And like consumers are more intelligent emotionally, mentally. Like we have so much access to so many things and people and
it's a trust issue too.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just like being able to step up our game in a more authentic way and not necessarily just about the things that I do.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I think coaching, and let's face it, they're all different. Like everybody, like if I think about all my major competitors, we all do things a little bit differently. But our theory with coaching is your life is primary and your business is designed to fund your life. And, our goal with all of our clients is help them build a business that fully supports the life they want to live. And I strongly believe that I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, right? Like I've been doing this a long time, but my lifestyle is more important than anything else to me. So, and I always look at it, I say like, the way I look at it, like business really it's fun and you want to figure out how to bring value to the people you serve, but it's sort of a game and you can choose any game you want, right? Like what game do you want to play? And that game could determine, how much do you want to work every week? How many holidays do you want to take? And all those things, that's what to me being an entrepreneur is. It's not going out and working 80 hours a week. I'm not saying there's not weeks that's not necessary, but if I go back to when I started this company, yeah, I was grinding, man. Like it was really, really hard. But the whole idea of building a business to me is build the life that you want and then build a business that will support that life. And so many people, they sacrifice, so much of, especially their prime years, sort of making a living. And the other thing is I always say the number one goal that every human being should have is health. Because if you think about it, with your health, you have 1,000 dreams. Without your health, you have one. And I'm always surprised by how many people, will sacrifice their health for so many other things when it should always be the number one goal.
It's so easy to say and so easy to fall into that because I'm a kidney transplant recipient and I'm that person where I fall into that loop all the time. You don't realize you're even doing it though because you're so used to the routine.
Well, I think it's the routine, but I also think for some reason we have this thing in our head, and my wife deals with this a lot, is that serve everybody else before I serve myself. And I look at it and say, but the challenge with that is that I'm no good to anybody else unless I look after me.
Absolutely.
And so I do think as some people, maybe it's the way they were raised, maybe it's some beliefs that have been instilled in them, whatever it happens to be. But, our number one goal, as far as I'm concerned, should always be look after ourselves. That's the number one goal. And that's not selfish in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely. Sometimes I feel like people get value for themselves, like their value is associated with how much they do and how much they sacrifice. When we have our value, like if I know who I am and I know what I bring to the table, then that's my value. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to do more. I can do more valuable things rather than doing more things.
Mm-hmm. It's like doing the things you do and being really good at them rather than doing a bunch of stuff and they're just all
terrible at all.
They're all just half-ass. Like
and my value.
I kind of did that. I kind of did this. I kind of tried. And
exactly.
You're not. What are your actual beliefs?
You're just checking off the boxes.
Your core values.
But your value comes from being rather than what you're doing. Sure. I think who you're being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no question. No question. Let's face it. I think there's a real insecurity in having to, show the world how good you are, right? And I'm sure when we're younger, it's more of an issue. It was with me. I know as we get older, you don't care as much. Like at my age now, I just don't seem to care I don't care what anybody thinks. Knock yourself out, right? You like me, you don't like me, I can deal with that. I think that's much more difficult to do when you're younger than it is as you get older. I usually, see people when they get older, they pull their pants up to their chest. They don't give a shit what anybody thinks about it, right? We all laugh about it and they're going, hey, I don't care. I mean, that's where I wear my pants, young, it's quite amazing. It's like we spend the first half of our lives trying to impress everybody else and the second half of our lives trying to get over that, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. If only you could just figure that out a little sooner, then you've got that much more I don't give a shit left in you.
Yeah. Well, it's a good, it's a good thing done properly. And, we're in an industry that unfortunately is always recognizing us for, in some ways, average production, right? Like I see, our industry on social media all the time, everybody standing there holding up their awards. I'm going, really, is that really what your customer wants to see? Is that of value to your customer? I think, my belief is any marketing that you do should always be in the best interest of the client, never yourself. So ask yourself, what's my customer want to know? What are they most interested in, right? What are they very curious about? And there's your content.
Yeah, like giving the value instead of trying to sell yourself.
Yeah, the minute it's about you. And like if I see another real estate agent stand beside another Mercedes Benz on social media, like I just go, really? Really? You know what you just said to your customer when you do that? Oh yeah, I'm making a lot of money. And then they go and you're saying, and we're going to pay you how much to sell our house, right? Like, are you
Exactly. I always think that when I see that.
like, I go, are you kidding me? Like, that type of marketing to me is just the most insecure marketing, right? And not only that, everybody number one at this, number one at that, number one at this, number one at that. And I understand they think it's a great marketing play. But I'm not convinced. I'm convinced that the agents that really care about their customers, that anything they post, I don't care whether it's an e-newsletter, it's on Insta, it's on Facebook, I don't care, anything you post, just ask yourself, is that of value to the people I serve? And if it's not, then don't post it, right? Unless you're making a post because you want your family to see what you did with the kids in the weekend, that's all cool, right? Like, if you're using it for that purpose. But we've got to be really, really careful, I think. And our industry likes to recognize us a lot with a lot of awards. You know how many companies actually have their national or international convention and make the agents pay for the award? Like, I think that's hilarious. So in other words, you got to show up and you got to go, pay for your award. Then you can go walk across the stage after you pay for your award.
Oh my God.
Like, why bother? I wouldn't
It
go.
doesn't even feel real at that point.
Yeah.
Like you're just kidding yourself.
As I get further into this career, it becomes less real and less important. It just becomes, then you kind of see what's behind the curtain. You're like, oh, like you're all just like each other. They're all the same. Like we're no different from each other. Why are we all getting, just do a good job? And
you can see new agents though, right? When they come out, they're like, I want to prove myself. I need to prove myself. And the only way I can prove myself is by getting that award. So I can show it to everybody that I did it, and we're at this point, we're like, okay, whatever. We've gotten past that.
That's
but
true.
What would you say to a new agent though, who has that in their mind? Like, how do I prove myself to my clients?
Yeah. No, I don't think you have to prove yourself to your clients in that form. I think what you do is you sit down and have a conversation with anybody. And I always say this, it's really funny. How come when an experienced agent is in front of the clients never say to them how long you've been in the business? But every time a new agent's sitting there, I would say, well, they always want to know how long I'm in the business. And I said, well, of course they do, because you look new.
Because you're trying too hard.
you sound new.
But all I want you to do is this. I want you to sit down with a client and I want you to ask them really serious questions about what they're trying to achieve. Right? And like most salespeople spend most of their time, preparing what it is they're going to say. And I said, I think you should spend most of your time preparing what you're going to ask.
Yes.
That's what a salesperson's job is. It is to discover the true motivation of what somebody is trying to achieve in the world and then bring a solution to them to help them with that. Right? So if you're doing that effectively, that's remember, people don't hear you, they feel you, right? If you're doing that really effectively and you really, really, really care, right? Then people go, hey, you got my best interest looked after. They might not say those words, but that's what they feel. This intimate trust can be built in a relationship when somebody knows that you truly have their best interest looked after.
Yeah.
And that's what leads to not only business today, but referrals and business in the long term. Christine, I'm going to put myself on a ledge here, okay? Because I don't know what the answer to this question is, but your coach, do you think your coach cares about you deeply?
Yeah, of course. Totally. Yeah, I think so. I think it's the relationship obviously got deeper as years went on, but I felt like she cared for sure from the beginning.
And that's, we talk about to our coaches all the time. We say, listen, your whole job is to discover what that client wants and then figure out a way to help them get it.
Exactly. I think that's why we've been successful, is because that's what our clients see, is that we go over and above for them and wanting to understand them and hear them and appreciate where they're coming from.
Well, we're going through this too, because every time we hire some new agents who haven't had the experience, it's trying to teach them, okay, well, exactly what you said, like go out and figure out the motivation of the client. What is it they need? Not about what you can do for them necessarily. It's like, find out what's their motivation. Why do they want to sell? Why do they want to buy? What's their story?
Right.
Because sometimes you'll just talk people out of it too, because you'll listen to them
Absolutely.
and you'll say, "Oh, well, I have actually a better solution for you. I have a like, or maybe it's not the right time." And that's where
Mhm.
the cream comes up to the top, where it's like, okay, I'm not. They know that you're not hunting for that
Mhm.
income. You know that the money will come.
Exactly.
And that's something that had to switch with my head too, where it was like come from a position of gratitude, love, and and not be attached to the outcome. And that's something that
Mhm.
I work on really hard all the time, because I do get in my own head. But when I do work in that place of not being attached to the outcome, I do my best work. I found it even the last few weeks, because I have been so busy, but because I'm so busy, I'm like, I can't be attached to everything.
Mhm.
So I'm doing my, I'm orchestrating all these things at one time that makes me feel very good and very powerful. And I don't know. I don't think I would have ever been, I don't think, I couldn't have done this like 6 years ago. Like there's no way. It just comes with practice and time
Mhm. I think
and
we've all been,
confidence.
for sure.
Hmm.
I think we've all been in a position where we've actually talked people out of
Oh yeah.
the deals.
Absolutely.
said-
Why are you moving? I say that, like I said
Yeah.
it a few times. Like, why are you moving?
I just
I
did
was
it on the weekend.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So so say so a seasoned agent comes to you and they're finding themselves like they want to take it to the next level. What would you say how would you coach them? What would be your next word of advice for them?
Well, again, the first thing we've got to do is I've got to find out clearly what is the next level. We got to get crystal clear on what the next level is. Is that more money? Is it not working as much, better quality of life, different clients? Like, what is it you're looking for that you don't have right now? Because, like, I believe that the most successful people in the world want to constantly grow, but growth doesn't mean always more money. It's grow in a way as human beings, right? We want to get a little bit better as human beings. So once I would sit down with somebody and I could clearly understand what the next level is for them, help me understand the next level, right? Because in all fairness, a lot of people, um, listen, everybody wants to make more money. I think that's a fair statement to some degree if they can. But in a lot of cases, just having a better quality of life, because many people are just being pulled all of the time, and their business is not serving them; they're serving their business. And one of the greatest quotes that actually really changed my life, I don't know, probably 30 years ago now, maybe more than 30 years. It was back when I was still in real estate, and it was Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, it's the entrepreneur myth, and he said in that book when I read this, and I cite it all the time because I still think about it. He goes, your business should be a vehicle to enrich your life, not one that drains the life out of you.
Oh, I love that.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
That's so great.
Sorry, that's called E-Myth.
Yeah, the book's called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and it stands for the entrepreneurial myth, right? And when I read that, I was working way too many hours. I was working way too many nights. I was still very young. I was still sacrificing a lot of the things that were very important to me, which my relationship with my wife and my daughter at the time. My son, I don't think my son was born when I read that book, and so it made me think of that. I said, okay, well, I need to change this. Well, if I'm going to change this, I require some help. So I actually went to other coaches back then. Before, I for a while I was involved with Mike Ferry, and this one, Tom Ferry, actually worked for Mike Ferry, and I got to know them really, really well. I played golf with them, and I was a young guy, and I sort of got involved with these, and they really did help me a lot. They when I first wrote my book a number of years ago, one of the first 100 copies I sent to Mike Ferry, and I thanked him for the impact he had in my life, right? I said, I want to thank you, man. Like, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm sure he maybe wasn't happy I got into the coaching business. I don't know, and maybe became somewhat of a competitor, but I don't think he cared. But, it's just because he had a real impact in my life, because he helped me understand the power for me of constant lead generation. That's what I was missing at the time in my business. I was really good at servicing my business, and I was busy, but what I didn't do consistently was the lead generation or the marketing. And I think a lot of people, they get confused between sales and marketing, right? And you look at sales. Well, sales is great. Sales is, you're on a phone with somebody and you're trying to influence somebody to make a decision, right? Whether it's an appointment with you, or you're negotiating an offer, or you're on a listing presentation, you're showing property. These are all sales opportunities. That's where you're sitting in front of somebody and you have an opportunity to influence them and hopefully move them in the direction that they want to go. But the secret to success, okay, is marketing. And where most people fall down is marketing, because marketing is everything you do to create a lead. So if somebody isn't as busy as they want to be, they don't have a sales problem, they got a marketing problem. They have. If they're not making enough money, they don't have a sales problem, they got a marketing problem. I'm not saying they couldn't get better at sales. I'm saying that's what they got to figure out. And I remember Darren German, he's been a coaching client for probably 15 years. He said, Rich, I wish somebody had taught me a long time ago that I'm almost not in the real estate business, I'm in the marketing business. I said, exactly. And by the way, any business is. We all are. Any business, right? You could be the greatest guitar teacher in the world, but if you can't market to find clients, who cares? Doesn't matter. You're not going to have any business, right? And that's what I learned when I, was in that I had to get better at marketing. And then when I got better at marketing, then I could be more selective in the people I was going to spend my time with, because then I would qualify, and I wouldn't spend time with people that maybe didn't have a higher degree of motivation, or people who were wasting my time. When I got away from wanting to be busy and now I wanted to be productive, and make sure I was producing a result, in the time I was spending working. So that's what I learned right way back then. And I find that when I get involved with a lot of people, that is one of the things many people have to figure out, right? Is to get better at that marketing. Because if you have an abundance of leads, you can figure everything else out, right? But you need an abundance of leads, and most people don't, especially right now as sales are, down from where they were a number of years ago when, went through COVID and came out of COVID. So our pie's a little bit smaller, and we've got to get better at marketing. So, we can continue to grab maybe a little bigger piece of that pie, so to speak.
If you had to give somebody your advice on somebody who doesn't do marketing in the real estate business, what is the one piece of marketing that you would do to start, or if nothing else?
Well, our foundational teaching, as I'm sure Christina knows, is something called the lifetime referral system, right? So we've developed this system, over 20 years where we can take somebody's database, and if you got 100 people in your database, if you follow our system, we can get you 20 deals out of that. If you got 200 people, we can get you 40 deals. You got 300 people, we can get 60 deals. So we basically developed a whole system around, because my theory in life is there's two groups of people in the world: those you know and those that don't, right? Period. Let's simplify everything. I know certain people, and then there's an awful lot of people I don't. Well, why on earth am I going to go out and try to influence the people I don't know, when all these people that I already know, that I'm not influencing them? Because the people that know me, love me, and trust me, that's the greatest opportunity I could ever have. And it doesn't matter what I sell. I could take a database full of 300, 800, 1,000, 100 people, it doesn't matter, of people that I know somewhat, don't know them all well. And I could take that database and I could leave real estate tomorrow and go sell cars, and still sell cars to that database. Or I could sell furniture. I can sell whatever I want to that database. So your network is your net worth. That's my theory. That is the foundational thing we all got to do. And even when you're a brand new agent, I'm a brand new agent, I don't know anybody. I go, that's not true. You sit down tonight and write out a list of everybody you know, your parents' friends. Just go crazy. And I bet you can write down 50, 60, 70 people you know. Well, you want to know something? You handle that list right. If you follow our teachings as a company in that list, there's 10, 12, 14, 15 deals sitting there next year, right? Just follow the system. We already created the system. We have tested it. So many people, use it. And that's where you start. And then from there, you say, okay, now that I've mastered that area right there, this database. And if you think about real estate, we also have to think about building our business in a way that eventually we can sell it. Because we're all going to get to a point where we want some succession plan. Well, think about the only thing of value that you have as a real estate agent, that's your database. Because the minute you leave, it's not your skill that's any good anymore, because you're gone. It's not your ability to negotiate an offer that's any good. So you have to have something that is systemized, that is repeatable, that is duplicatable, that over a number of years has produced a result. And that happens to be your database of people you know, right? And once you've mastered that, as an agent, that's the first thing that you want to get better at. And I'll tell you right now, there's not many agents that couldn't do a better job there, and probably couldn't have a lot more business come from that if they followed a better system, right? And then I would move on to the people I don't know, right? But that would be secondary. But where I'm going to start there is with the people that I know. So that's where I'd go right off the bat.
Well, that's really great to hear because I think we spend a lot of our time on social media and boosting things, and and we have everything we need right there in a database. Before like social media and all these things became popular, I think it was so much more simple. You just knew that that's what you do. You just call your people. You just talk to people, connect to
we
them.
all started before the internet.
Exactly.
Like we got into the business. I had a pager the very beginning. So there was no Instagram. There was no, so he's right. Like, I mean, back to basics.
Back to basics and simplify.
It's the key foundation. And then from there, you move to whatever else you want to do. You move to the next funnel, we call it, and on how to lead generate.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
You were mentioning to me today, me and Christina go to F45 in the mornings, and they always yell at us because we're always talking real estate throughout the entire class. But she's like, oh, we're talking about you actually, and she's like, yeah, what are your 5 funnels? I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, because I had that meeting and I was like, and I threw that out there, and then they were
in the middle of like a chest press. What are your 5 funnels? I'm like,
Christina.
Yeah, it's awesome. Friends, families, and then referrals, and then the podcast was one that I brought in, thinking, okay, that's my next funnel coming through, creating more of an established name, meeting new people, because I found that after the pandemic, I started to plateau. Like I kind of took everything I could out of my people, and I moved everybody. Yeah, everybody had moved. And I was like, okay, now what do I do? So the one thing was starting a cooking class, going here, just I am a creature of habit. I like to stay home. I like to be in my space. So those things were, but you're not going to meet people in your house, just like dating. So I had to go out, and that's the podcast came from that. Going to F45 came from that. So it's just kind of getting yourself exposed and finding like-minded people.
And out of your comfort zone.
Oh, yeah. And that's what builds confidence to orchestrate the deals to come together.
Totally. Sorry, I was just going to ask, do you feel like certain people would make good realtors and certain people don't? Like, do you think that anybody could be a good realtor?
I do, but here's the way I would position that. So I believe that everybody has genius in them. Okay, so my theory is everybody's a genius. It's like, I think it was Einstein said, if you judged a fish by its ability to climb a tree, right, the fish would think it was stupid all day long, right?
That's great.
When I think about genius, what I think about this, I think, passion plus talent equals potential. So if you think about it, like right now we got, the NHL playoffs on, right? I'm not a huge fan or anything, but they're going on right now. And do you think any hockey player that's right now in the Stanley Cups hates playing hockey? They love it. You can't be great. Okay, you can't be great unless you love it. That's passion, right? Now, there are a lot of people that love hockey, but they're not in the NHL because they're missing the talent, right? So there's 2 things it takes for anybody to be successful in the world, really successful, is number 1, you've got to have talent in that arena. So I'll give you an example of talent in that arena. So there's some people that can stand at an open house and they're extroverts, and people will walk in and they love to talk to people. It's so easy for them, right? They're just having the time of their life. They're energized by it. It's not taking their energy away. They're having a blast. They're meeting people. They're connecting with people. That's talent, right? That is a certain talent. Well, if they love that and they take that talent, that's their potential. That's when things will really cook for them. And then there's other people in the world by the way, I'm one of those. When I was in real estate, I'm naturally an introvert. I couldn't stand going to an open house. I could not stand sitting in a house waiting for people to come to me. It seemed such a waste of time. And it's not a waste of time for some people, but it is for me, because then they walk in the house and I go, and whatever, help yourself. I'll look around and,
I'll be here.
Yeah, it was awful. And I wish I had known earlier that I should not be spending my time in that arena, because it's just not my natural way, right? Where what was I really good at? I was really good with numbers. I could look at anything about real estate and figure out, and then I could create content around numbers, right? Like months of inventory. Right? If you think about everybody that talks about months of inventory right now, well, that's what I started like 20 years ago. I started doing that 20 years ago and teaching agents how to talk about those concepts because that stuff comes really easy to me, right? So I got to take what I'm really passionate about and what I'm really talented at, and I can turn that into the most brilliant marketing pieces you've ever seen, right? What else? Motivation. I'm talking motivation. Like it turns me on. I can read stuff about motivation and great stories of people that have succeeded in the world. Like I can't stop reading that stuff. I'm addicted to it. I actually have a problem with it, right? Like the first thing I got on to is I pick up a book. That's what I do. I probably read 3 hours a day, right? I can't help myself. And I'm not reading fiction books. I'm reading nonfiction books. Well, that's because it's a passion. So I can take that and I apply that to my business, obviously, right? Because I have a passion and a talent in that arena where now I can stand on a stage and I can really get people riled up because I want them to be riled up. I really, really do. I don't want to talk to them after I'm done. That's an extrovert's job. My job is when it's over, I want to walk right off the back of the stage, right? But that's just my personality. So what I've
So
discovered
it's
is
really like you know yourself. You actually really know yourself well, and you know what lights you up, and then you just work with that.
yes, and that's what all agents should do. They all need to discover what is their true genius in the world, right? And stay away from the things that they're not good at and they have no passion for because it's just going to drain you of energy anyway. You're not going to have any fun. You're going to hate it, right?
That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. I completely agree with that.
But that's exactly what we do with our coaching clients, try to help them with that. Like we want to get them in the space where, I always say when you're doing that, does it energize you? When you're doing that, does it energize other people? Because if it does, you're in a really good space.
Yeah, the biggest mistake is trying to be like somebody else. Like this worked for this person, so I have to do these. And some people are really concrete like that in their thinking that they just try to follow exactly what somebody else did. But that's the missing piece is there's no joy to that.
No
And there's no passion, authenticity.
Mhm.
And yeah, you can be pretty successful doing that, but you're going to be burnt out, you're going to be miserable, and you're not going to be very fun to be around.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that's great.
So yeah, that's why I think anybody can succeed, but only if they're in there.
But a lot of coaches teach that. Do you find that? A lot of coaches are teaching just like this method that worked for them and just
It's like
kind
one
of,
size fits all.
yeah,
Download my ebook and let me tell you my method.
exactly. But like what you're saying is figure out who you are, what makes you special, what's your magic, and work with that.
Yeah, everybody's different. Everybody has a genius in them. Everybody has different passions and talents. And I think you got to get them in that space because that way, at this company here, as an example, there's really only three things I do in this whole company. And that I'm really good at those three things, right? Everything else, I'm surrounded by people that are really good at them. And without them,
How do you find those people?
Yeah, that's the big question. Is
How
where
do you find those
find
great
them?
people?
That's a really good question, Maria. We should have asked that.
That should have been our first question.
I don't believe in hiring people. I believe in investing in people that believe in what we do, right? So, you can look at it and say, Dana Richard's been with me in one capacity and another for almost 40 years. Dana Strauss been with us 20 years. Storm's been with us 20 years. Like a lot of my coaches have been with us, long term. So we don't go through a lot of people. Saying that, it's really hard to get hired here, right? Because the process you go through to hire, you don't even see me until you've had like 6 interviews and you probably met at least 6 people in the company. And then generally when you see me there, everybody's always nervous. They go, oh my God, I don't want to screw this up. And I go, you can't screw it up. You've already been hired. They just want me to see you for some reason, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, this is like, we don't even need to meet. They just want you to meet me, right? Like sort of thing. So it takes a long, long time to get hired. And we will be without somebody rather than hire the wrong person.
Mhm.
That's what we're going through. Like
Yeah.
literally the same process. We're really trying to not make the same mistake in hiring the wrong people. because we've learned the hard way. That,
But that is what we discovered is we need to hire somebody who's inspired by what we do and wants to add to that rather than just somebody who has the skills that we think they need to have to do the job.
They need the passion for sure.
Yeah, you have to. Otherwise, when I look at, and we work with a lot of teams, obviously, and some very, very large teams. And the minute I see a lot of turnover on a team, I think to myself, we got a leadership challenge here because the leaders are bringing in the wrong people. And what I quite often hear right off the bat is you can't find any good people, right? And I go, no, that's not the problem. That is not the problem. Like there's all kinds of great people out there, but you got to play the numbers game. How many people are you talking to? You can't just interview 10 people and hire one. Are you kidding me? Like now I'm not saying that the right person might not be of one of the 10, but I'm saying, to really get a really great person, it takes a lot of work. It's no different than brokers trying to recruit agents. It's no different than you marketing and, prospecting for new clients. It's a lot of work. And it is that type of responsibility. And there has to be a system put in place for it, which, we've got a whole hiring system to help people with that. Like how do they write ads? But, the whole deal. All those components become very, very important so that you attract the right people and you repel the wrong people. Then you start, putting them through a process of narrowing it down until you finally find that right person. But yeah, if there's turnover, there's always it. We always have to remember that if our company has turnover, I'm the problem.
Maybe we need coaching to hire new people. Can you help us?
Yes, we can. We won't do it, but we'll coach you through how to do it. Right? A lot of people say, well, why don't you just hire them for us? I said, no, that's not our job. Like,
a few of my friends that are in the coaching program, before they hire their admins, they have their coach talk to them and break it down and then see if it, and then they give their opinion. Like they know you so well that they'll say, I don't know, or yeah, that's great. Sounds like a great opportunity. See where it goes from. And then here's the next steps you should take.
Yeah. See, we've done everything the hard way when it comes to this. We've learned, but we did it the hard way.
See, now you're starting to see the value of coaching. See, you can go to the school of hard knocks and you can pay the price, or you can just pay us a little wee bit. Right?
Yeah, no, you're 1,000% correct.
That's been my life and yours. I think the school of hard knocks.
Yeah,
we got here somehow.
Somehow we made it, but we just
School of
want to
hard
make
knocks
it
is
easier.
very, very expensive. Just so you know, I'm not saying it doesn't work. But because I spent many
Right
years.
back to the trauma.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Richard, for being on our podcast.
Oh, you're welcome.
Let our audience know where they can find you, what you're up to right now, and take the
Best thing is if you just go to richardrobbins.com and everything we do is sitting right there. So it's the easiest way. And of course, we're floating around on the social channels as well. But I think just go to the website and that's where we are.
Thank you.
I have one more question before we go.
Sure.
Other than your own podcast, is there any other podcasts that you would recommend that you think are worth listening to?
Yeah.
The Real Agent.
The real and ours, of course.
Yeah. Other than the Real Agent, because I can't, the one I listen to the most is Tim Ferriss. So I very much enjoy. I don't listen to all his episodes, but I pick and choose. And actually, he just did one on trauma.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why. And I saw yours too. And that's why I was like, oh, there's
interesting.
There's some good ones.
Yeah.
I love
and I listen to the Greatness School and, so there's a whole bunch of them I listen to. I listen to podcasts when I'm working out in the morning because it makes it more fun for me. I try to take anything that's not fun and I try to make it fun. Working out to me isn't fun. So I listen to podcasts and then between sets, I have a little putting mat and I putt. So I'm between sets, I putt, listen to podcasts, and that's how I get through my workouts.
It's a hack. I love
that.
it.
That's fantastic.
Thank you so much. This
Thank
has
you.
been really awesome. It's been really nice to get to know you a little bit better and what you do. And we really appreciate you taking the time.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and I wish you all continued success.